Okay guys, these are my grades for each MLB team right now. So yeah, I'll give each team a grade, 8 on how they've been doing of late and their current status. Arizona, I'll give them a B. They're not doing too bad. They're doing better than I expected them to be. They're one of the biggest surprises of the year. And if they make the playoffs, Torey Lovullo gets my vote of manager of the year, or whoever Arizona's manager is. Atlanta, they've been doing well of late. I'll give them an A, even though they did split with the Cubs. Cubs are still a good team, though. That's the thing. Baltimore, they're getting a D. Getting a D minus. Baltimore is the worst team in the AL from what I checked. I think Baltimore's the worst team in the AL. You can correct me on that, but I think they are the worst team. So I think Baltimore is. So I'm gonna give Baltimore a D. Boston, a C for hangover. A C. Wanna know why? 3 words. World Series hangover. And they're awful this year. That's a surprise. Boston gets a C for me. Chicago, the Cubs first. I'll give them an A minus. They're not doing bad, but I'll give them an A minus just because they've had a hot streak at the beginning, and they're cooling off, but they're still in a pretty tight Central Division. The White Sox, I'm going to check the standings real quick. I'm going to go to the standings. The White Sox, I'll give them a C. They're not doing that bad. I thought they were going to be the worst team in the league, but they're not. They're actually playing decent, and I think they'll be decent in the future, but I don't think they'll be that good right now. Cleveland, they've been red hot. They're obviously getting an A. Hey, let me check if Cleveland's in the right order. Oh, yeah, okay, no. But okay. Cleveland that definitely gets an A. They've been red hot of late. The only reason they wouldn't get an A plus is if they didn't have that very bad stretch at the beginning of the season. But I think Cleveland gets an A. But I think I'm gonna give Cleveland the A. Cincinnati, the Reds are the Reds are 36-42. They're not doing bad. I will go ahead and give them, but I'll give them a D plus because they've hung in a lot of games they lost, but still, and they actually swept the Astros. So yeah, but the Astros haven't been that good of late. So I think the Reds. I'll give them that solid. But grade. Colorado. I would go ahead and give them a B. But if you consider that the NL West is completely weak, like the NL West, the only team that's really running away with it is LA. But it's LA, so yeah. Colorado is close to a wild card right now, but the problem is they're just not as good as I don't think Colorado's as good as advertised. So yeah, Detroit. Detroit at 26-50. Yeah, they're getting a D minus. They are the second worst team in the AL. They're competing with Baltimore for who's even worse. So I think Detroit is they're just abysmal right now. Houston at 50-32 would get an A if they weren't 2-8 in their last 10. So I'll give them a B minus just because of them being 2-8 in their last 10. I don't think Houston's as good as advertised right now, and I think they're very beatable this year. They've been very vulnerable this year. They got beat by the Pirates, for crying out loud. And the Rangers are starting to catch up to them, too. So, yeah, that just proves you're overrated when Texas is starting to catch up to you. Kansas City. The Kansas City Royals at 28-53. I'll give them a D. They haven't been as bad as people thought they were. They're just better than the Tigers. But they're in a not very good Central Division. But it's better this year than last year was. Because, of course, you have the best team in the AL in that division, apparently. But still, I don't think that's going to work out. LA at 56-23. A+ for LA. Just unbelievable how LA is this good. Cody Bellinger is probably the best. Cody Bellinger is one of the best players this year, and he's emerged himself as one of the best players. Their pitching staff hasn't been too bad. LA really hasn't been that bad this year. I thought LA was going to be mediocre. LA hasn't really been mediocre this year. I thought LA was going to be mediocre ending the season because of how much depth they lost, and they failed to get Bryce Harper. So technically it was a failed offseason for LA, but knowing this division was weak, they were going to win it. LA's on pace for about at least 100 wins. They're the best team in the league, so there's no question why they don't get an A. Why they get an A+. It's obvious. LA definitely gets an A+. See. Anaheim. God, I feel bad for Mike Trout. Anaheim is 42-40. They've been red hot of late. In fact, despite they're in 4th place, they're not far from the wild card Texas Rangers. They're not very far from them. For Anaheim, I'll give them a C because they haven't really been living up to expectations I put up for them. I thought Anaheim was just going to barely miss the wild card, but it turns out they might miss by a lot. Anaheim really isn't that bad of a team. I just don't think they're as good as advertised. The Marlins. The Miami Marlins are at 30-49. I'll give them a D. They're the worst team in the NL. I think a D is respectable for them. And I think the Marlins are... I don't think the Marlins are a good team, honestly. They have some good players, but all around the team's just not very good. Minnesota is 52-28. They're the best team in the AL, but I won't give them an A+. If they did get an A+, I would be overrating them. I don't think an A is overrating them at the slightest. I still think they're going to find a way to fail in the playoffs. New York at 52-28, same record as Minnesota. Yeah, A+. New York, if you ask me, New York's the most complete team and most loaded team in the MLB and AL. I don't see anyone stopping New York in a playoff series. Now, sure, the bullpen's going to be their downfall, but I think this is New York's year, and I don't think anyone stops them. The Mets are 37-45. Yeah, that's good enough for a C-. They would be in D range if they didn't have that really hot start. If they had a cold start, they'd be in the D range, but they are not. So, yeah, I'll give the Mets a C-, though. That's fair. Oakland. The Oakland Athletics are 43-39. I'll give them a B-. They're not doing that bad, but then again, they've been struggling of late. Though Oakland's 7-3 in their last 10, I don't think Oakland's as good as advertised right now. Philadelphia. The underachieving Phillies, 43-38. They're to C. Let's keep in mind they blew their division lead early in the year. I said the Phillies were overrated, and I said the Braves are going to conquer that division because the Phillies' pitching is god-awful. I said the Braves will win the division, but everyone overrated the Phillies. So I think the Phillies are just... I think the Phillies get a C. Pittsburgh at 38-41. I'll give them a C. They didn't come into Houston and win, but Houston is not very good of late. So yeah, Pittsburgh, I think, is gonna end up taking a. Pittsburgh, I think, takes a big flop in the second half. Yeah, San Diego is at 40-40. They'll get a C from me. San Diego's not that bad. Problem is they're in a pretty weak AL West, and it's good. Not AL West, NL West. That I think it's gonna end up killing them later on. St. Louis, bunch of underachievers. The St. Louis Cardinals are currently sitting at 40-39. I'll give them a B. They would not be a B if they didn't have a really hot start. They had a brutal month of May. They haven't been that good in this month either. But they've been decent in the month of June, but they haven't been really good like they were in April. Problem is if St. Louis didn't have that one bad stretch, I would have given them a higher grade, but no. St. Louis hasn't really been that good. San Francisco at 34-46. I will give them a C minus. I'll give them a C minus. They would be a D if they weren't ahead of the Marlins. They would be at a D, but they aren't. So yeah, I think the Giants in the future should do better, but right now they should just start trading names off. Seattle at 37-48. That's obviously, we'll give them a C. They're in the AL West is actually really good for some reason. Seattle is just rebuilding. Let's be real. Seattle's probably a rebuilder now. They just traded away almost everybody in the offseason, and they just got worse from there. Tampa at 46-35. We'll get a B minus. Haven't been very good of lately. But the problem is Tampa's bullpen is just god-awful. Alvarado is just... Hopefully the Rays' bullpen gets better. If not, they're going to get shredded in a playoff series with the Yankees or the Twins. Because I really don't see anyone beating the Yankees in a playoff series. But the Rays need to get a better bullpen. Toronto at 29-52. Definitely a D. Definitely a D. Because Toronto is just awful. They need to start trading some names. They need to get a cast around Vlad Guerrero Jr. Or else they'll be better in the future, but Toronto is not very good right now. Texas at 45-36. Solid B+. Because no one had thought Texas would be this good of a team. No one actually did. I didn't see a lot of people pick Texas to make the playoffs. So yeah, I think Texas is overachieving a bit. Washington at 40-40. They'll get a B because for some reason the NL East is actually a pretty solid division. So yeah, Washington I think needs to start getting better with the bullpen. Washington's been heating up of late, and I could see them making the playoffs, but they haven't won a round yet. So yeah, I'm gonna end it right here.